The next thing that I want to focus on is being precise in terms of the instructions that we're providing the model. Or the other way to look at it is avoid impreciseness. What does that mean? Given the tips above about being detailed and improving formats, it's easy to fall into the trap of wanting to be clever about prompts and potentially creating imprecise descriptions. It's often better to be specific and direct. The analogy here is very similar to effective communication. The more direct, the more effective the message gets across. So when you're talking to the model, think about you're talking to a human, you have an intern, or you're talking to a work colleague, and you're trying to explain it something about a task that that colleague needs to do. So you have to be very specific to get the job done in exactly the way you want. If you don't provide specific instructions, the person, or in our case the model here, will interpret it in its own way and provide some information, but at the same time you lose track of it and we start becoming clever. And I have noticed this with my own prompting techniques, that sometimes I think that I'm providing very precise information but I'm not. So that's what this paper tried to show with an example. So let's say, explain the concept of prompt engineering, keep the explanation short, only a few sentences, and don't be too descriptive. So if you look at it, I have provided specific instructions from my perspective. I said keep the explanation short, only a few sentences, don't be too descriptive. So I've told it not to be too descriptive, but this is not enough. Should I write one line, or should the model write 3 lines for me? Or should it write 100 lines for me? What does descriptive means here? By my definition of descriptive, does that mean 1 word, 100 words, or 1000 words? We don't know, right? So a better way, or a more clearer prompt would be use 2 to 3 sentences to explain the concept of prompt engineering to a high school student. Now, by using 2 to 3 sentences, I have clearly defined the length of the output, whereas here, don't be too descriptive does not do that job. The model doesn't know what I mean by descriptive here. It's going to write small form of content, but it could be 10 lines instead of 3. So this is a much more quantifiable instruction that we have provided the model. At the same time here, what it did was it added the audience to a high school student. So the model will write the answer accordingly, similar to the example of black hole that we have seen before. So keep this in mind when you're providing instructions to the model. Make sure that you're providing precise instructions. Think of it as if you're talking to a work colleague or an intern. And if you would tell another human about these instructions, would it be able to understand exactly what you're asking it to do? If a human can understand it, most probably the large language model can do. If a human will have difficulty in understanding your prompt and exactly what needs to be done, then probably the large language models will also have a problem in improvising and understanding exactly what you want, and it might give you an answer that is something that you're not looking for. So be precise, be specific, provide clear instructions. It's one of the most important things when it comes to prompting.